Hello and welcome to Tuesday's conversation with the Earth that Marianne and I are doing. And we strategized a little bit before going live and decided let's talk about having truly a conversation with the Earth in light of the fact that hurricane season is here in the US, in light of the fact of all the wildfires that are in the western part of the US, in light of the fact that in Europe, fire season is potentially starting and it has been not that great in the past few years. So, conversation with the earth, where could that leave you? And what if instead of looking at the earth, as I know I did years ago, oh, the earth is so big, what can I do as a puny little person? But the reality is that the earth is actually willing to support us, to have our back. And can she do it if we are not talking? So what if we start talking? You're grinning, Marianne. What's your thought?
Thank you, Corinna. And I'm so glad we are here again. So, yeah, it's a big one. Starting to talk with the earth, really, really talking. And yeah, talking in silence. I would name it for me, for myself. And speaking about the fires, yes, in Europe, and I'm living in Portugal, we had for several years, last year's really big forest gone in flames, gone up in flames. And I experienced something really that opened even more my consciousness about it, but also, yeah, the beauty of what is possible. Because you mentioned we as little persons, who are we?
Mm-hmm.
When you see the Earth, planet Earth, really, I still not get what is really the dimension of the Earth. It's like I can't really imagine. So, yeah, little thing, what can I do be for that earth? And it was 3 years ago now, it will be 3 years ago. It was a time that there was really a big fire going on, a big area. And at that time, right before the, the fire started, I have a friend who bought a house, and it is there in that area. But she wasn't here at that time, so the house was there all by itself. And I asked, what can I do? I wasn't, because the distance from where I lived at that time to her place was also a big distance. And what is possible? I was really in that question at that time, and I asked really, what can I do? And I sat me for a while, and I breathed, reading with the earth, and I was asking, and the contact also with her house and the ground around it, the acres around that was her domain. And I was with that, and I could feel really streaming energy through all my body, through my hands. And I received the message clearly, like, it's okay, it will be fine. I'm here. I'm here. And I thought, what the heck is that? I'm here. Later, when she came back to her house, and she rang me in tears of gratitude. And she told me, and still I'm getting goosebumps, because she called me and she said, nothing was touched by the flames. Everything around me went up in flames or was really damaged, but nothing was touched. The house, the acres, everything that belongs to her belongs, in a matter of speaking, because it's still belonging to the earth, but you know what she was paying for. And I go, wow, wow,
Mhm.
really? It's amazing.
It is.
And that opened for me even more going into the conversation with the earth, with
Mhm.
nature also in general.
Yeah. A friend told me that years ago during a hurricane, um, a friend would have been affected possibly and asked for a contribution. And so several people contributed to her and asked for her part of the house, for not even specifically for her part of the house, but for her to be safe and not to have any loss. And what she heard back then was that the house was damaged by the hurricane, but not the part where her friend lived in. And even though a wall was missing, and hurricanes usually have pretty intense rains with it, nothing was wet of her stuff. And with this recent fire in California, I did some energy work on a friend's house. And as a sudden, it shot through my mind is, oh, there are eucalyptus trees in the backyard. And, everybody knows how eucalyptus trees go
Yeah,
up in flame
yeah.
easily. And that thought shot through my head. And I got the message back, we don't have to burn. So can I ask then, would you please not burn and contribute to keeping the house safe? And that's beyond me. It's actually what I'm seeing is if we are willing to ask, nature, the earth, is willing to contribute to make that ask come true.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's people in Access Consciousness have contributed to the earth in regards to the fires in California. And it rained. And this morning I read that the firefighters were able to breathe a sigh of relief because it had rained and the weather was cooperating with their efforts to stop the fire.
yeah.
And so what is possible really to do? What if we can do so much? And I remember talking years and years ago with my father about, why doesn't the farmer just talk and ask for the rain or for whatever? Yeah, but that would not work because they don't know what is necessary. And today I'm looking at that question and say, what if instead of me deciding this is what necessary, what if I ask the earth to contribute, for instance, to my crop coming to fruition? The earth knows what's needed, and giving it over to the earth instead of me trying to be in control or the person trying to be in control. But that we ask the earth again.
Yeah.
It's again
You
going
know,
back to.
yeah. And do you know, Karina, speaking about that, like Portugal,
Mm-hmm.
it when the we became the United Europe, I will say
Yeah.
it like this, then there was a lot more influences of the other lands around them, as you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
And now, and that was also when they started to put the chemics on the trees, on the
Mm-hmm.
plants, on for getting more fruit or harvest in
Mm-hmm.
general. because they heard it from the others. Now, since a few years, like they started, when did it open? 2002, I believe it went open, a communion. So what is this, 20 years ago? Not even that. So for nearly 5, 6 years max, they started to notice that the harvest was shrinking every year.
Yeah.
Shrinking, shrinking, shrinking. And when I dared to say, yes, but years and years and years, the people here lived really in communion with the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And they went with every sign. They could read the signs of nature and they went with it. And in winter they went in rest, and then in the spring they would do what was required and go on, go on, go on. Now they go a whole year long because it's needed. They do it everywhere, and we put more and more and more and more of those chemics, and the harvest shrinks, and the sadness about not having a harvest as they want to is growing, but they can't see the link between those two. They can't see it. And as we see now in which way the nature, earth, generates itself,
Mm-hmm.
how would it be if they stopped doing it? There is a knowing that in a few years the harvest is back again, like giving what is there to give, and in abundance.
And I agree with you, not because of necessarily personal knowledge, but I have started when COVID started. I came across a podcast by Dr. Zach Bush.
Yeah.
And I started following him after that. And what he is working with farmers in the Midwest of the US to stop using glyphosate and all the fertilizers, because he said the harvest has decreased by about 40% compared to before, which is a tremendous amount.
It is.
And he said it would probably take 2 years for them to go back up towards where they used to be if they stop fertilizing, first of all, using GMO, and introduced other old practices.
That's the old technology.
That is really, really old practices, not even practices that were in place before all the fertilization, because even that was destroying the soil. But he said we need all that stuff that is in the soil that keeps the soil fertile and loose so we can have a good harvest, versus what the glyphosate and all the other does is it hardens the soil, it compacts the soil, and it makes it, now saying this, I become aware of, it probably makes it a lot more difficult for any of the seeds to break through that hard soil, and that's part of why you have the decline. Wow. But again, what if we started to talk with the earth and ask the earth, what do you require from me?
Yeah.
Because the earth is absolutely intent on abundance. And if we look at the earth, how much abundance is there? How quickly is an empty parking lot peppered with grass? The worst dirt road that I ever drove was an abandoned highway that had been paved over. And you could see how nature was eating in from the sides, and it was also all broken up. And that's why I call it dirt road. But with the big chunks of pavement, it was a really rough dirt road.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, nature is abundant. Nature is supporting life.
Yeah, and even speaking about the weeds and the abundant way nature shows her, what the heck, so many people decided what is beautiful, what is nurturing, what doesn't can be. So they put everything. And you know, Corinna, it's since a few years I discovered this with the fruit trees, the apple trees, for instance. They started here to put like a type of sugar. It's not really sugar because it's some physical. No, it's not physical. How do you call it? Artificial sugar, but they put it into the ground like fertilizations to open up the sweetness of the apple.
Yeah.
And I discovered it by, and it was so weird, Chris. It was so weird, Corinna. It was a lemon. I had a lemon, a bio lemon. From a garden, from someone who gave it me. And when I wanted to drink in my morning tea, in not tea, I made hot water with squeezed lemon.
Yeah.
And I don't put anything in it because I like the taste of the sour of the lemon. And I started to drink, and I thought, what's this? It was like sugar water, a lemon without. It was like sugar. And when my partner came home and I asked, did you know, how is this possible that lemon can taste as sweet as it tastes? I never had this taste of a lemon. And he said, yeah, but I know where it came from. They use those artificial sugar for getting more sweet apples to sell. And then I thought, I want to know what it is. An apple, artificial sweetened apple. It doesn't taste as nothing. Like it tastes sweet, but it doesn't taste like an apple.
Because it's not sugar, it's artificial sugar.
Yeah, and it's not really required.
Right.
So later on, 2 years ago it was, I went to a place where they're really actors of apple trees. And I started also to communicate there. And the sadness of the trees, of the abuse they received, forced abuse through all those artificial, if it is a fertilizer, if it is chemics, if it's nothing natural. And it hurted so much in my heart. And I thought, wow, even that. And still, those trees chose to go on, to give fruit to those who are abusing them.
And it's really, how many conclusions do we have? What we have to do to nature in order to fill in the blank. And is that truly necessary?
Yeah.
And yet we are told you have to do this because there are the specialists that the master gardeners, the nursery people, whoever they are, that tell us this is what is needed, but it's only passing on conclusions that somebody has come to.
Yeah.
And if
because, that... Yeah, go on.
Now go on.
It can be that it is something that is required at the time, but it's completely different when you go in communication and
Yeah.
ask, is this now required? And that brings me also to that point where I was really obsessive, nearly obsessive with food and healthy food. And I studied how it works in the body, how the body reacts, and this you can combine, and that's healthy. And at the point that it costs energy, that costs energy. And when I got that, I thought something is off here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something is off here. And then hearing more and more, because I could hear it perhaps in Access also, it's the point of view. There is no wrong, there is no right, there is no good, there is no bad. What if we can see that also in the food? What if we can ask, hey, body, or go with what the body is leading us to? And one of those things is like a Coke. I couldn't drink a Coke, and I had the point of view that a Coke is really, really a bad and
Yeah.
unhealthy thing to do. And then it was in the start of Access, and then I hear then, yeah, but a Coke can be really, really nurturing for your body. And I thought, yeah, but not my body, because it's too bad for my body. I don't want to drink Coke, etc., etc. And a certain day, it started a headache, really a headache, and headache type that I never had before. But not thinking about the Coke, nor thinking about asking a question. And it was the second day in the evening that I started open me up for, could it be that my body wants to have a Coke? But I didn't got with it because I didn't have it in the house. And at that time, the shops were closed. So in the morning, the next day, I went out to get a Coke, and I only bite one of those. How do you? Yeah,
Yeah.
those 23 centiliters in my case, and I said, and even then, it took me still a few hours before I really went to open up the can and started to drink. And I thought, really, Karina, it was like that. And I served myself like two fingers in the glass, and I drank it. And it was the most delicious drink I had. I went so for the half of the cake because it was enough. And within
Yeah.
5-10 minutes max, my headache that I had for nearly 3 days went,
Was gone. Yeah.
was gone. And still, it's not that I'm drinking a lot of Coke. It isn't. But now I don't make it any longer wrong.
Yeah.
And when I sense that pull to have a Coke, I go with it. So now I see that I have it in the house. And really it's so, yeah, even I think twice in a month my body requires it. It's not much.
Yeah. After I heard through Access that Coke is quote unquote good for you, I started drinking Coke. Really started drinking Coke. Not a ton, because I don't like necessarily carbonated drinks that much.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I started drinking it. And nowadays it is back to, I open a can, I drink maybe half a can, and then I'm done.
yeah,
I'm not interested. I'm not even looking for it. I'm not touching it.
yeah,
And I'm not even saying, oh, you opened the can, you need to finish it because otherwise it's a waste. You know, all those stories that we tell ourselves,
yeah,
all the
yeah,
reasons and justifications that we have.
Yeah.
And it's fine, you know.
And as you see, this theme of we have to go on with it because I opened it or I put it on my plate, this food, etc., etc. Isn't that what we are doing also with the earth? We did it for so long, like in this way. So it has to go with this way. And now this one is saying you have to do it like that and that and that. And he will know because he signed it or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But where are the questions? Where
Yeah.
are the questions?
Where is that we actually check in and ask the question? And isn't that actually the real purpose for a question? To become aware, not to get an answer or validate a guru. And I mean guru, even a person who is known in his or her field.
Yeah.
What if we asked actually a question? And what if that is the beauty of the diversity, because you and I are not the same. So the space from which you would ask a question is probably slightly different than the space from which I am asking a question. And now multiply that with thousands of people. And
Yeah.
each answer, quote unquote, the awareness that we get will be slightly different. But isn't there the beauty in the richness,
Yeah.
in the diversity?
Yeah. And isn't that also the contribution?
Mm-hmm.
As your contribution is different than mine's and different
Yep.
than my
Somebody
brother or
else.
sister. And that's also diversity as Earth requests
Mm-hmm.
this diversity, but from a completely other vision and space. And that's the beauty. And I know I shuttered it so many years. I shuttered it down to go in those questions. I wasn't aware that I was questioning before because I wasn't learned it. And by speaking about it, even with the weather, I know I have some potency there. Literally, I can ask the weather and in general, when, because I'm asking also with no point of view, with no expectations. It's not a command I make. It's more like, what would it take and how would it be? And more in that. And I receive, but when I say that or said that, it's what like, yeah, you can think, you may
You
think
imagine.
you imagine. And when I say, yeah, but you looked at what they would say for the week I was going to Belgium, for example, because there it's raining a lot. Last year's a lot less, but in the past it was. And so often, as friends would say, oh, but it will be a good weather because she's coming. So far. And then I said, yeah, but how do you call that? You start to say, it will be good weather when she comes. And often it was, because when there was rain, the
Yeah.
previous was the rain, but I asked, I would like that, a good sun, it not a heat or something, but a dry weather, so I can go there and there. I would like to visit that and that and that. And I had the weather I asked for.
Mhm.
And then I said often, and now I take the sun with me. So bye bye, you can have the rain now. Oh, you don't have to do that. Oh, yes, I can.
What when you were talking, I went back to a memory years ago when I was living in New Mexico. We had a really bad flash flood that took out culverts and stuff. And so a few days later, there was this black cloud in the west. And I just said, could we rain, fine, but could we please not do flash flood? The amount of rain that is creating a flash flood. And the cloud dissipated. And I shared that with the spiritual group I was in when we met next. And there were actually two people who told me, I wouldn't want to be that powerful. How much fear do we have of having potency?
Do you know why I'm laughing?
Yeah.
I wasn't acknowledging that it was a power. Like it's normal to do that. So,
For you,
wow.
and I wasn't too, so it was new for me, but I believe people that said you could do this, and so that's why I even did it. But where do we go with that? Where do people go with that? And is that the reason why people don't even want to talk to the earth and make a request?
Wow. Yeah.
Because they feel then, they look at it, it is my request that made that happen. Yeah. Instead of, I am requesting from the earth, and the earth makes it happen, which is a totally different viewpoint.
It is totally different. And it can, when you don't have a point of view, if it will be, or like not going in the command, not commanding the earth, give me this weather, do this, do that. It's not from that space.
No, it isn't. A request is basically a plea.
Yeah.
Please,
yeah.
could you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Could you, would you? Please, pretty please.
Really?
Which is a totally different space.
It is. It is. And what is still uncovered or not discovered by ourselves, perhaps not discovered as possibilities in which we can be, we can contribute, we can commune with the earth. And that is something really that's now in the last months more present in my personal life. As I'm intrigued. I'm really intrigued and curious, like a little child. What is possible? What is possible?
And what if that is, if you really want to go far, so to speak, what if you do co-creation with the earth? And what would happen if we actually included the earth in what we would like to create and have it as a co-creation instead of I am the one who is creating it?
Yeah. That coming out of that. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So we can continue that conversation next time. Co-creating with the earth.
Co-creating with the earth. And I can say, yes, I have little snippets of experience in the last week. So let's put it on. Yeah. Great idea, Corinna. Great idea.
Okay. And I'll see you next week. I look forward to the conversation.
Yes. Till next week. Bye-bye.
Take care.